reports in NCEES, specifically ad hoc reporting and exporting to PDF. I will be presenting today. I do have Cammie and Jennifer who are going to be helping, and I will let them introduce themselves.
Hey, I'm Cammie Nairn. I am the Assistant Student Information Product Manager, former NCEES manager, so happy to hand over the reins to our awesome Donna Curry. Thanks for joining us this evening.
Hi, and I am Jennifer Bass. I am the NCEES coordinator at DPI, and I work very closely with Donna and have worked very closely with Cammie and hope to continue doing that. But if you have any questions ever about policy with NCEES, I'm the person that you contact for that. So thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us. So I do want to go ahead and just make sure we have the right people in the room. You are all welcome to join us, but just be aware what we're doing today is specific to district administrators and reports that they can run. If you were a site administrator or a teacher or someone else and you just want to know of the reporting abilities that your district administrators do have, we do have a training site that we can give you access to so you can log in and look at that. But just be aware that these are reports that only district administrators can run. So just wanted to go ahead and put that out there. Don't want you to be frustrated when you go back to your instance of NCEES if you can't do some of these items. So just making sure you're aware of that. Like I said, you are all welcome to attend, but your rights might be limited. But for today's session, we do have access to a training site for you. So our agenda today is we are going to, for people who don't have access to NCEES, who don't have district administrator rights, we're going to make sure we get you access to the training account. Then we're going to go to ad hoc reporting. It does say restricted. Doesn't mean restricted for you. I'll explain what that means. I'm going to show you how to create it, how to run it, how to publish it, how to schedule it. Then we'll look at export to PDF option, and then we'll look at some resources, and then we'll wrap it up. This does align to our digital learning plan. It does align to human capacity and also aligns to leadership and vision. And like I said, if you're just joining us, look like the link to the agenda is in the chat. So if you do not have, or if you're not a district administrator, you can click on this link right here, and we do have training accounts for you. I went ahead and put your name beside. I went ahead and looked at everybody who registered before today. And so I went ahead and put your name on the side if you're in here. And the accounts in yellow beside your name, those are the district administrator accounts. You're going to need to copy paste this information in the yellow square under username, and then the password will be train ABC. So if you, like I said, don't have district administrator rights, if you click on your name in the spot beside, you'll see that you have access to yellow. That'll give you district administrator rights. So if you need that, you can click here and access this. And then after you copy paste this username, you can click right here to go to the training site. Or Cammie has also put it in the chat as well, it looks like, but you can click here, and then from the training site, you can log in using that username and the password train ABC, excuse me, train ABC. So you're just going to put your information right here if you would like to follow along. So I'll give you just a second to do that if anybody in here is not a district administrator who needs time to do that. Also, those of you who are doing this, if you ever need to do training in your district and you don't want to show any personal identifiable information, you're welcome to click on that link as well, put your name beside a section, and then you can go in and you don't have to worry about showing any information that's confidential. So that is an option for you. Okay. If you need for me to wait, if you will put that in the chat or let me know. If not, we're going to go ahead and move forward. Making sure I don't leave anybody behind. If you have your own instance of NCEES where you are a district administrator, you are welcome to just use your own. You know, you would probably it'd be more beneficial to you if you're actually working in your own site. So, okay, thank you, Michael, for letting us know. But unless somebody else tells me to slow down, we're going to go ahead and keep moving. So some common questions that we do get about these reports is, how do I create reports specifically for a list of teachers I'm responsible for observing? How do I create reports and push out to individual schools for their staff to run? And can it be broken down by plan type, or can it be aggregated as an entire staff? A record of teacher activity status report that current year to capture all of those dates, those signatures, and observation score summary report current year. And so that is that by employee if possible. So as we go through this, we're going to be addressing those, but if you need to refer to this later, you can see that we do have all of these questions linked on the slide, so you can immediately go to that. So those are just some common questions that we have, and hopefully before today's session's over, you'll know how to do all of this. So how do you create an ad hoc report? So as you are to create ad hoc reports, you will go to navigate the system administration. You will navigate to applications and ad hoc reporting restricted. Now, restricted does not mean you can't go there. That means that you only have access to your site. It also means that if you were to share or publish this to another person, it's only restricted to the rights that they see. So you're going to notice that restricted just means it's only restricted to the rights you have. So as a district administrator, you may share these reports, but each site administrator is only going to see their site. So just be aware of that as we go. So you'll have access to this later. And this is also in the Help Guides tab. Once again, if you've not looked at the Help Guides tab, and I will show you that in just a minute, there is a reporting guide to help you with ad hoc reporting. And so we just linked this here as well. If you would like to go look at that, you can see that guide. But we're going to talk you through these steps now. But there's a lot of good information in those help guides. In addition, when a person leaves the district, those reports are owned by that creator. And so those reports are not accessible anymore. So, you know, that sometimes there's turnover in a district, sometimes people trade roles. So this is a spreadsheet. You're welcome to make a copy of it. And so when you're running those ad hoc reports, what areas are they including? This is just helpful for you and your district if somebody keeps up with that data and another person wants to have access, because remember, it is owned by that creator and it can't be shared. So making sure you know what data they're pulling, what's information. So this will be beneficial just to help you. So if you would like to make a copy of that, you can do so to use later as you start making these ad hoc reports. That would be beneficial to you. So we've talked about that first question. So how do I create reports specifically for the list of teachers I'm responsible for observing? Well, you can't necessarily like set it to us a specific group. You can narrow down the demographics some, but once you do download these reports, you can fix those or filter those within, you know, your spreadsheet when you download the CSV, but it is limited to the people that you can see. So there is some limitations there. It's not like you can limit everything or just narrow those demographics down. So you can't set it to a specific group. And also district administrators can create an ad hoc report and publish it to you if you're a site administrator. So site administrators cannot make their own. However, the district administrator can share that with them, and they can even add some filters to help them navigate that. And as you share this, remember principals that have that 114 budget code, when you share reports with them, they will be able to see everyone who has their school as their primary location. However, if someone else has been assigned a site administrator, they will only be able to see the people in the report that they have access to. That's where that restricted comes in. So just knowing about those reports. And how do you create reports and push them out to an individual? So we're going to look at how we create those ad hoc reports. We're going to show you how to filter, and we're going to show you how to publish those to other people. We can publish to an individual, or we can actually publish to a group. So we will make sure we show you how to do that. So the first report that we're going to look at doing that with is a people ad hoc report. Once again, to get to ad hoc reports, you do go to System Administration, Application, Ad hoc reporting, restricted, and then we're going to scroll to people. So we are actually going to jump in the live site and look at that. And then when you get later on, you'll see that we do have directions to help you with this later. But we're going to jump to the live site. I'm going to turn my camera off just so it helps with bandwidth, just in case it does get a little slow. Okay, so as we are, hold on. Let me open the right tab. So once again, in order to get to those people reports, we are going to go to System Administration. From system administration and applications, we're going to go to ad hoc reporting restricted. And you'll notice I am impersonating a training account. So what I see may be a little bit limited. You'll probably have access to more information. So ad hoc reporting restricted. And if you're following along, if you have another device, you're welcome to do that as we go. If you're one who likes to go back and watch later, you're welcome to do that as well. So once I get in here, we are going to, any reports that you have already made will appear at the top. If you don't have any reports yet, there will be nothing up here in this section. You can scroll down and see the list of reports that we have available to us. I'm going specifically to the people report. You can click new report to immediately start a new report. If you click the drop down arrow, it's going to show you any templates that you have made, and if you have run any reports, they will appear in your cache reports. Clicking on the eye will let you see that report and view it. Clicking on this little zigzag will let you run that report. So you can see the report as it is, or you can run it from here. And like I said, you can also look at these templates that you may have made and shared with other people. But we're going to start right now with creating a new report. So once you come in, you're going to see that you have many options that you can narrow this down by and decide what you would like to see in our reports. You think of what you want to see in your report and what makes sense to you. So let's talk about these areas. So the top area is talking about your people. You'll see that by default, some things are already chosen in this section. However, you can deselect and pick what you would like. So I'm going to select all, and it'll highlight everything in that section. If I click it again, it will remove, and then I can pick and choose what I want to appear on this report. So I'm going to choose the last name. I'm going to choose first name. I'm going to choose employee ID. And then you have to decide in your people report, what do you need to look for? If you don't know what some of these things are, maybe you don't know what admin type is. If you click on that drop down arrow, you can say, okay, maybe I want just users. You would have users or site administrator or district administrator. They would be the only options you have. We don't have the other ones right now. If you want those to appear in your graph, you would just choose this little option here to make it appear in your report when it prints. Once again, so if you don't know what something is, we have admin type you could choose if you wanted. You could choose if you want to look for your staff. We have instructional support people who are in for PD. Or administrative, you could choose that if you wanted to as well. So maybe I do want to know their current position. Maybe you want to know their email address. Home phone is not something that we keep in NCEES. Maybe you want to know who in your district has, like, can assign access rights, can assign identity. Maybe you want to know when their license expires. So I want that to be included. Or maybe you want to know their PDP type. And maybe you want to know their teacher plan type. So you can go through and check these items that make sense to you to appear on your report. You can also choose the sites that you would like. The more sites you have, the more data. So you can narrow this down and break it down all the way to the school level. Or you can choose all who are within your site. So you can handle that however you would like. If you would like for this to appear on your report, make sure you choose that box on the side. I'm just going to say all users within my site because I have a very small site that I'm working with. And then you can decide if you want it to be their primary site. While you can't search by that, you can make this appear on your graph. Or you can have this appear. You can also look at demographics if you would like for demographics to be pulled in. Instructional. When you look at those instructional, there's certain things that do come into NCEES correctly and certain things that don't. For example, certification year, remember, if you're a BT, you start over at like year 4. So at the end of year 3, you start over. If you're on the 5-year license renewal, you start over on year 0 as well that next year. So you could have different people. This does not necessarily mean you're a beginning teacher. If you start here, it's just where you are in your licensure. We are currently working, classification comes in, we're working to have those come in correctly. They don't always come in correctly. And the evaluation type. So those sometimes have to be set by your district and what they require of you. So just be aware of those things as you're going and what does not necessarily come in correctly with NCEES, as we are not authoritative on all of those. So you can choose what you would like to appear. You can also, if you want just someone who's enrolled in your school, This year, you can choose your dates. You can also choose active accounts only. If you want active accounts, you choose what you want to be in your graph. The next few sections, that was the people, the search people section. The next ones deal with roster information. So if you're wanting to know if maybe everybody in your staff had to take a beginning of the year course, or maybe there's something specific to your school, if you wanted information about a specific course, you could include that. I'm not going to include that today, but if you're looking for actual PD opportunities, you could include that if you knew like that course information. So your roster information is here, roster sections are here. You would need to know that information prior to starting for that information. Once again, attendance goes back to that those courses. And then you can also include site. So if you want to include maybe the school number, the school name, you can include that as well on your report. So once you have what you want to appear on your report, you can name your report, and just make sure you name your report something that makes sense to you. So I'm just going to put my initials in the front. If you're in the testing site, you might, or the training site, you might want to make sure you include your initials in case somebody else types in the same report as you. So I'm just going to type in, call this people, and you can give it a description if you like. We'll look at graphical information in just a second. But right now, when I'm happy with this, I can save this report if I'm happy with it. And then once I save the report, it's going to take me to this screen. So on this screen, I do have some options. I can click this drop down. I can run this report. I can schedule it to be run later. I can delete this report if I don't like this report. So if you click run, it's going to pop up with that same information that we just chose, so we can look at that. Hold on, let me go back. Asking me if I want to make changes. I can also schedule an export. So if this is something that you know that you want to evaluate on a monthly basis, maybe you want to check all of this information and see where people are. So I can, once again, I can give this a name. I'm just going to call it test people. You can add the file name, and if you want it to include the date, you do need to have that macro there. So you'll do copy this, and then it'll include the date that you have it. So make sure you include that macro if you want your date included there. You can choose the export date. You can choose the export time. So maybe I want this to start today. Maybe I want this to run at, well, it's kind of late, so I'm going to say maybe 6 o'clock today. I can decide if I want this reoccurring. So this is something you can, like I said, have it run daily. You can have it run weekly. You can have it run monthly. Or if this is something that you know needs to be done before your principals go to a principals meeting, or before they meet with their superintendent, and you know when those dates are, rather than choosing daily, weekly, monthly, you can go in and choose specific dates if you already have dates ahead of time. A lot of people like this option. So maybe I know that I need to have this report run let's see, the 4th Wednesday, or well, no, we don't want to run on the 26th. That's not a good date. Nobody's going to be working then. So maybe I need this run on the 8th. Maybe they have a meeting on the 9th. Anyway, you can add as many dates as you would like to have this run. And if you choose daily or weekly or monthly, you get to narrow it down by what day of the week and what day of the month. After this, you get to choose who this is going to go to. If you have multiple people, you can separate them by commas. So if you wanted to include someone else in your district, separate with commas, just remember you'll have to share that information with them. Or just let them know that report has run if they're not in NCEES. We do leave this FTP information blank. We don't use FTP in North Carolina. And then you'll see here, this is where you have options to decide how you want your information to come in. And you can choose your information. You could drag it around if you would like. So you do have options to do that. When you are happy with this, you can click Save. So if this is something you're ready for, you can click that Save Information. If you wanted to target this to an individual user, if you know their name, you can come in here, you can type in their name, and then it would automatically populate on their report. So this is where you can share information with your site administrators, with your lead principals. So you can come in here and type their name. If you know that you want to target a group and you want to target all site administrators in your district and you want them to have access to this people report, you can come here to target group, and you have different options. So you can come in here, once again, choose your dates. We do recommend you choosing dates because you don't want this to hang out here forever. So maybe I want this to expire at the end of this year. You choose what makes sense for you. If you set dynamically, that means that anybody else who comes in later will be able to access this for whatever roles you're choosing, and you don't have to go back in and add them later. So I do like the dynamically republish, because that'll make sure any rights you set, they'll be able to see if new people come in with those rights later. If you don't know what any of these mean, just click on them and they'll tell you. So account status, I would only want to have my active people show, but you can decide what makes sense for you. And then your staff position. So once again, if you don't know what something is, just click. If you want this to go to your administrative staff, you can choose your administrative staff. And then you have options to even narrow that down even more. So once you choose this information, you can narrow down your demographics. You'll notice that as I do start setting these filters, you'll notice that it went from 438,000, I'm down to 13,000. And the more I narrow this down, the smaller this is going to get. Just think of people in your district, and if you know how many schools you have, how many district or site administrators you have, and once you get it narrowed down, you can see your list. But you can also look for admin rights, and I can just set this for site administrators, because remember, site administrators can't run their own. You can set this up for other district administrators in your district as well. Once again, you can see now it keeps going down as I go. You can also narrow this down for location. You can pick certain people. So if you have a group set up with certain people, so maybe you have a staff group that's your beginning teachers, you can add this. So you can narrow this down as in many ways as you like, sharing it with whoever you would like to get this. And I'm going to click finish. And I'm not going to send this because it's going to slow me down, but you can see how many people you can send that to. So in addition to targeting groups, go back to system administration. Oh, excuse me. Now I can go to reporting to see this, because once you've created it and once someone shared it with you, you'll see it under your reporting tab. Once again, reporting.
Hey, Donna,
yes.
can we check to see if anybody needs any of those steps repeated, or if they're
Yes.
following along, or if they're just watching?
Okay. Yes. You do have the right to unmute. So if you have questions, does anybody have questions? Or if I go too fast, please let me know.
Okay.
Okay.
I just want to do a quick check.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so and like I said, if you have questions, please feel free to just unmute and ask. You're welcome to do that. So I do have my reports down here. I forgot what I named that. Oh, I can go back this way. I'm going to go back to, for system administration, I'm going to go to ad hoc reporting. I'm going to go back to people. I'm going to do my drop down. And I can see here that I've been working on these. You have your cached ones for the ones that you have been working on. And I'm trying to remember which one I was just on, but I don't remember. But I'm going to just click on edit one of these. And let's see. Okay, so one thing I did not do as we were looking at that time is I did not show you how you can add some sorting options. So when you were in here, you'll notice that this second column right here says sort. You can choose two different options to have it sort by. So maybe I want to sort by last name first, and you'll notice that once we sort by last name, it does gray out because it is chosen over here. And maybe I want to sort by last name, and then maybe I want to sort by license expiration. So that is going to allow me to sort, and that's the first way this information is going to come in sorted. When I share it with someone else, if I want to give them the option to filter, I do need to check this box, and that'll allow them to filter as they go. So maybe I want them to be able to choose the PDP type or the teacher plan type. So that means before they run the report, they'll have the option to go in and choose PDP type, and they'll have the option to go in and choose plan type. So if you want your people to have options when you share it with them, then you can do that. So just being aware of those options. So those filter options and those sort options. And
yeah, you have to save it. Yeah.
Okay. So what that looks like when you go to look at your reporting, Once again, I went to reporting, and if you can't see reporting, it depends on how far you're zoomed in. If you don't see the end of this, you may have to click the drop down arrow to expose what may have run off the page. So I'm going to click on my cash reports. And if I click on this one, I think that one has, oh, sorry, I went to the wrong one. I have to find one that's going to give me the right to see that. For that reporting. And it's not letting me see it right now. I went too fast. I found one I did a minute ago. So let's look at this one. Hopefully this is going to let me see it. So this is if you include the option to filter. So when you share it with someone, you'll see now that I do have the option to maybe choose individual PDPs, or I have the option to choose teacher plan type. So that is what it looks like if you allow people the option to filter. So that is what those plans look like.
Yeah. And then they click the word search to run their report that you published to them.
Yeah, so they will click search once they have it, and search is the same thing as run once they go. Okay. So let me make sure I didn't miss any steps as I went. I hope I didn't. If I did, we'll go back.
To go back to ad hoc report and show them how to actually run the report.
Okay. So let's see here. I don't need that. Let's see.
So the district administrator does not need to go to reporting to run that report, although you can stay in ad hoc system administration ad hoc reports. So go back to where you set up the report, Donna.
For system administration. Okay.
Yeah.
For ad hoc reporting, system administration. So from here, you can see your reports. And then you can click run to rerun the report. You can click the I to see it, but if you want to run the report.
Yeah, if you click rerun, I will tell you, and I don't think I've talked with Donna about this, but it does reset the checks in the top section. So I usually like to not do the rerun at the top. I usually like to go back down to the people report and run it from there because it will recheck the top section, the people section, and you'd have to reapply your checks. But if you come back down to people report and click the drop down, that's right, and open the report, click the run button from there, you'll be back on this page. And when Donna saved it a while ago and it went to the other window that had the run at the top, it pops you back to this window. It does that on purpose because the run button is in this gray box. So that's where you need to click run. And then you can see that it puts that little run icon up there, that little timer. You can refresh the page on the right or just wait for your email to pop in your inbox. Once you hear that little ding, you can refresh the page and it will put the eye icon when the report is ready. And that one, there you go. And then when the eye is there, you can open it up and see your report. And then you can download it to a CSV. And then that you can put in Excel or Google Docs and manage it from there.
Thank you, Cammie. So yeah, so when you download CSV, it does it'll go to your downloads folder, and then you can upload it to a Google sheet, or you can put it in Excel, whatever item you like to work best with. So you will see that you do have this information here. If anybody has questions, like I said, please feel free to ask. Just make sure I didn't miss anything else in here. And so we do have the directions of those click paths. Remember, going to system administration, application, ad hoc reporting restricted, scroll to people and click new report. This is going to show you when you're in. Remember, you can see the little run icon or you can edit. And this is going to be once again from that people section. And when you click that drop down arrow, you will see that there. And remember, when you go through, choose the things that make sense to you. Remember, the top part was dealing with people. The bottom part was mainly dealing with courses, and making sure you do click run right here. And you can add those sort field options if you would like it to sort by like last name or whatever you would like. You have 2 options there. And when you share it with someone else, if you want them to have the option to add additional filters, you can enable this here as well. And that will show it when they log in as well. So remember, you can publish report to others. Remember, you can search the individual user's name, or you can target those groups. Remember, you can target site administrators. You can target just certain schools. So you do have those options as you go through, and you can narrow down those demographics for whatever report needs to be shared with what other person. And remember, when you're on that screen, once you are on when they get to that reporting page, or when you're in there, you can click this drop down arrow. And you can see you have the option to run the report from here, or you can schedule that export, and that's where you can choose to run it monthly, weekly, daily, or you can set those appropriate dates. If you do need help, there is that ad hoc reporting schedule that will help you here. And we also always have this on the help guides page within NCEES, so you can see those help guides, but it is linked here as well. And then remember, we're publishing just individual users is just showing you how to narrow that list down and find the people that you would want to share that with, and deciding what you think should be included on those graphs. And just more information about that target group as well, and making sure you watch that number go down as you narrow down that information of who you would like to share it with. And when you're finished, you do click finish. I did already show you how to view those filters once you check that box. Remember, when you log in and click on that report, if there is a filter there, you will see those two options to choose those. And let's see. So, are there any questions about that part? Okay.
Not seeing any.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead now, and we're going to look at the record of teacher activities status. So in that single row, so we're going to look at evaluation form, single row, ad hoc report. Once again, we will go to system administration, application, ad hoc reporting restricted. Remember, just restricted to the rights that you can see. And then we're going to scroll to topic, evaluation form, single row, and then we will click new report. This is a sample of what you might see after you create that and you run it, which is similar to the report we saw just a few minutes ago. So once this report runs, and anything that you click will have a column that appears for it. And then remember, up here you can download this information as a CSV. And, I think it's just the same information zoomed in. So let's go ahead and look at the evaluation form single row. So once again, I'm going to go to the live site. Sorry, it's up there. So I'm going to go to System Administration again. I'm going to go to Ad Hoc Reporting Restricted. And you can see now that I have more. That last one that I ran, I believe it's up here now. I believe this only holds 5 at a time, but you can always come down and click the drop down below in those reports that you have run. So we're going to go to evaluation forms single row. So we're going to click here. There is a description for each of these reports when you're in here if you want to know what this has. We've also included that at the end of this presentation in the resources section. So this is going to display those evaluation form results. So forms can be identified at the plan or at the activity level. So if you've already run this report, remember you can click the drop down and see, you can see there are some reports here as well, but you can also click this new report, which we are going to do now. So the first thing you're going to need to do when you go to this evaluation, the single row, is you're going to need to choose your evaluation type. And once you click this evaluation type, it's going to expand this first section because different plans have different requirements. So maybe I want to look at the abbreviated plan, and I'm going to go to 23-24. You can choose your plan from your year, and you're going to see that this does expand. This is going to give me a lot of check marks. So you've got to decide, once again, what makes sense to you and what do you need to see in this report. So I'm going to check all, and then I'm going to deselect, and I want a column for everything that I check. So maybe I want to make sure I'm including the abbreviated evaluation. If you need to see what anything is, remember you can click the drop down arrow and see what that looks like. So you have the group, which is like the big overall item, and then you have those individual steps within it that you can look at as well. So maybe I just want to, at this point in time, I want to see, maybe I just want to look at observation number 1. And remember, once you click thing, it does affect what is shown below, but you can choose what makes sense to you. And so maybe I want to make sure that we have gone through and that The teacher has acknowledged that. So I want to make sure that that step is done. But you can choose what you would like to see. I don't want to look at archive plans, and I don't need a column for that. I just don't want archive plans. But you pick and choose what you want to see. You can look and see when that plan was created, when the plan was last updated. I can add I want that step to be equal to. If I leave it blank, it's going to tell me all, or I can just have, let's see, I don't need this. And check what I don't need. But if you want all information, or if you want just specific, so if I want to just know what's completed, it's going to just show me that information. But if I leave it blank, it's going to show all the steps within that. And then you can decide, once again, do you need the teacher signature? What information do you need? So once again, this is going to make sense for you and what information you are looking for. So you check what you want to appear. And so that is dealing specifically with the plan. And then you have to decide for the person, what do you want? So always look at whatever section you're working in to see what information you need to choose. So this specifically dealt with the plan. And now this is going to be about the person. So I want their last name, I want their first name, maybe I want their employee ID. Once again, you can choose. So I've already chosen at the top that this would be the abbreviated plan. So I don't really need to choose that down below because I already chose it at the top. And then you can narrow down your site if you would like. Like I said, whatever makes sense for you and what you're looking for. And you can use your site information. So maybe I want to make sure I have my school and my school code. Once again, this is specific to you. So this is and then you're going to name this. I'm just going to call this DC for my name. And this is going to be single row test, just because I'm testing this with you all. When I'm happy, I'm going to click save. And then I'm going to run this report. So if I want to see this information, and this is going to take me back to this screen again, and then I can run this report from here. So once again, like before, we have to wait for that hourglass to go away. Once the report has run, you also do get an email that's going to let you know that your report is available whenever it is available. I did not add any filter options that time, or I did not decide how I wanted to sort it, but I could have done that. And I'm trying to give it a second.
You have to refresh.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I can click on the I, and then you can see the information that I chose. And I'm in a testing account, so or training with the training person. So obviously I don't have a lot of information, but you can see what I do have available here. And then if I wanted to download this as a CSV, I could. One thing I did not do is I could have also chosen to have information given to me graphically. That was an option that I did not show you on that. Go back. System administration, ad hoc reporting. So if I were, let's see, let's go back to this one. Oh, excuse me, wrong one. System administration, ad hoc reporting. We'll go back to my people report. So I'm going to click drop down. I'm going to, maybe I want to edit this people report. Hold on, I gotta remember how.
If you click edit, it goes to this page. You have to click run to actually edit the report.
Thank you. Okay, so you'll notice over here that I chose raw data, but I could also choose graphical data. And so the graphical data, anytime I wanted to choose something to come in as a pie graph or a bar graph, I can do that. So maybe I want to choose, I'm trying to choose something that I have. Maybe I want to know the PDP type. Maybe I want a pie graph for that. Teacher plan type, maybe I want a bar graph for that. So you can choose whatever information you want to appear as a graph. And if there's information to show it graphically, it will. And
so the ones that are pink, the system asks you, thinks there's too much data to graphically represent, but go ahead and try it. I have been able to get some graphical data off the pink rows. So just, you have to play with the report, but the ones with that are not in pink, those definitely should give you good graphs and good visual representations and percentages.
So I'm going to check that license expiration. It might not give good, but when you hover here, when like when Cami said, when you're hovering in that pink section, it does give you that information. So if you want it to appear as a graph, once again, choose graphical. Anything that you want to appear as a graph, you choose that option. Click run. I'm going to refresh. If I click on the eye, now, because I don't have a lot of people, I have one big red bar, but you would have multiple depending on the people that you have. You can see here I have individual PDP, I have no PDP. So anything that you chose to have a graph with, you will see it will appear here and the information is below. But you can also still choose this information. You can choose show your raw data. And then this is going to get you back to that information that didn't have the graphs, and you could download that as a CSV.
That's
So
down at the bottom of the page. If you scroll back up, Donna, you can see those percentages. Scroll all the way up back to the graph.
Okay.
And there's also other tabs there. So like a view people tab, view site tab. It will give you additional information. Just make sure you click through and check there.
So yes, it will show you that there as well. And then, like I said, if you want to download this, you can click that and download. So at least we do have something where you can see multiple bars. So you would obviously have more bars than I do because you're in a real site. So, questions about that graphical data?
Not seeing any.
Okay. Okay, so once again, that evaluation form, single row, and that you could even, I didn't choose signature report, but that would be something that I could have chosen if I wanted to make sure that appeared. Remember, you're choosing things that make sense to you, that you would want data to share that would be beneficial for you. We also have observation single row, and that's going to help you with those summary rating reports. And this is something you're going to want to run at the end of the year. And any of these reports, once again, you can download that as a CSV. But keep in mind that we only evaluate, it's only truly like the summary evaluation at the end of the year. Throughout the year, we're making sure we're like, do you know it? Do you show it? You know, we are looking for those words to make sure that it is being shown. We really only do that like evaluation through at the summary evaluation at the end of the year. The rest of the year, it's a teaching tool to help your educators. So just being aware, you're making sure you're using those words, and we're looking at this at the end of the year.
Yeah, so no ratings during observations. You see the ratings word on there, right there, developing proficient, accomplished, but that's not actually what you're doing. You're doing the descriptors and the red words in observations. So North Carolina does not have ratings reports for observations, only for the summary evaluation at the end of the year.
So yes, we don't do that. It's only at the end, but there is an ad hoc report at the end of the year that we can run that's going to print out each of the descriptors with the tally marks. And if you are good with, you know, Sheets or Excel, then you could go in and have it tally that information for you. So that is an option that you can have, but we don't really have any way to do like that summary evaluation throughout the year. So if you just wanted to see where that report was, observation score summary, hold on 1 second. And that is right in the way of me trying to click. So remember, system administration, ad hoc reporting, and you can just go down here and you have your observation single row. So, and we'll just look at some of those options that you can choose when you were there. So once again, if you have any, you click the drop down, they'll appear in that list, but you can click a new report. And at the top, you're looking at that observation single row. So make sure you know what's in each section. What do you want to have here? If you don't know what something is, you can click that drop down. It's going to let you know. So you have the abbreviated summary. You have all of the plan types. So you can choose career development, school counselor, school psychologist. You know, you have all of those plan types. I'm just going to leave it on abbreviated. And what you choose will affect what appears below it, because remember, different plan types have different things that are looked for. So what else do you want? Do you want And remember, you can choose all and then deselect. So I do want to include a column for the abbreviated summary. I want the last name, the first name of the observed, and this is where you can do the observed and the observer. So if you want to know who observed them, you can do that. You can have the observer employee ID, once again, those things that make sense to you and what you need to run in this report. So think of the information that you need. You're going to want to know probably when this was finalized or completed at the end of the year. You're going to want to know the status of this, whether it's complete or not complete. So if you're trying to keep up with, it's getting close to the end of the year, has everything been done that needs to be done? Everything should be shared, so you can choose to include this or not. And you can include the overall rating just because it says not searchable. You can include it on your report when it does print out. And then you can look at your rating period. So you can choose the year. But you can include what makes sense to you. So go through and look at the information that you want if you want those elements. And if you want to see what they have, you can look at those elements if you want to know what you have there. So click what makes sense for you, looking at those. And remember, that will change. Abbreviated has less. This just has standard 1 and standard 4, whereas the other ones will have more elements and standards. So you can choose those if you would like. And I'm just going to come in and choose some of these. So this is the shorter plan. And make sure you do run your reports before the school year is over, because while you can go back and choose years later, choose a previous year, there is certain information that always pulls from the current year. So the location, the name, the plan type will always pull from what's current. So if you want to make sure your historical data is correct, please make sure you run these reports before the school year is over so that all of that information is correct. So once again, you can choose whatever information you would like to appear, and then include for the observed. What do you want for the observed person? Do you want their name here as well? I know it asked for it above. It did not ask for their employee ID for above. If you want to include that, you can. So looking at this information, choosing your site, and anything you check over here will have a column that appears on your information. And then you can choose your school. So really drilling down into that data. When you're happy, you're going to name it. I think I'm at that test 7. You can save it. Then you're going to come over here. Remember, if you wanted to share this with your site administrators, you can add individual users or target your group just like before. I'm going to click here, going to click run, and then go back over here and actually run. So do those few steps. And it looks like mine is already ready, probably because I don't have a lot of people. But if it wasn't ready, I could click refresh, and then I could look at this information. And obviously, I don't think I had anybody in there. So that's why that came up that way for me, because obviously it's not the end of the year. So I'm not going to have anything there at this time. But that is another report that you can run that's going to be very helpful for you to make sure you have reports that you need for your site. Are there any questions about that?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So I skipped ahead a minute ago, so I did show you how to do that graphical information. Remember, anytime you choose that pie or bar, it's going to give you the option to have a graph that appears. So these are some reports that are, you could use for graphical reports. Think of that evaluation status 1, making sure you're looking at abbreviated, comprehensive, late hire, PDPs, your principal plans, standard plans, making sure that you do look at those. And go ahead and run those reports at the end of the school year. Also, if you want to duplicate a report, once you click duplicate, just like when I click rerun, everything at the top section does repeat. So you will need to go in and choose those certain things that you wanted to check, because when you do click rerun or when you do duplicate a report, that top section does start over. So once you click a new one, so let's look at that. Sorry, once again, it's hard to click. So when you're in system administration, once again, ad hoc reporting. And if I'm going to go down to people, I'm going to click my drop down. So maybe this is the one that I want to look at. So I'm sorry, click run. And then I can just rename it, and then I can click Save As. So maybe I want this to be teacher test number 10, and then I can come in here and choose what makes sense for me. So I can come in here and choose that information that I want. So maybe I need that, and then you can click Save As, and this will save it as another report. So each year, if you need to run new reports, you can go back to previous years and then click it, the information that you want, edit those things that you need to edit in that top section, and just rename it. So you can do that as well. Okay. So are there any questions at all about that ad hoc reporting? Because if not, we're going to switch gears and go to export a plan to PDF. Again, you're welcome to type in the chat, or you can unmute and ask those questions. Okay. So if not, we're going to change gears, and we are going to go to System Administration, export a plan to PDF. So in order to create, ad hoc reports, is available to NCEES Administration. You can also do these exporting the plan to PDF as a mass export job of all plan types. So you're thinking if the larger your district, the more PDFs that you're going to have. And these PDFs do run at night. So if you were to come in and click one of these options as we're going, just be aware you probably won't see that till tomorrow. And when you do export a plan to PDF, it does go in a queue against everyone else in the state who is running these plans to PDF. So kind of plan ahead at the end of the year. That can get slow. At the end of the year, as everybody might want to save these and export their plan types to PDF. So just be aware that it does go in a queue. They do run at night, and yours will get in line behind whoever else runs those. So once again, so in order to navigate to this, we will go to System Administration again, and then we will go to Export a Plan to PDF. It is time to name your report, you're going to have to use macros to do that. So that, they are over here, so you can copy paste, because once you are in the plan and you pull them up in the naming scheme, you can't click on them. So these are here for you if you would like to click on those. So just be aware when you're doing this, you are going to have to name your file, and this is how this is going to work. So you have the $, you have your information between parentheses and a comma. There will not be spaces between these unless you put a $, and then do parentheses with the space. So if you want to separate with the space, you can do that, but we'll look at that in just a second. So there's a couple of plan types that you might want to, that we're going to look at. So we have export a plan to PDF using a partial export. And we're going to look at that. And then we can export a plan to PDF using a record of activities. And that is very beneficial. Know that when we look at your information, when you ask about making sure you have information for BTs, I know that that was mentioned by a couple of you in this today, that export a plan to PDF record of activities is going to be very helpful for your beginning teachers for that audit record that you're going to need. So I did highlight that here so you can remember that when we are finished today. When you are exporting plans to PDF, partial is probably going to be the one you might want to look at. If you do a full export, it's going to export everything. So that's going to be a lot of information. So we'll look at some of that information in just a second. But as you are exporting, you're going to have an export name, and then you have that PDF file name, and that's where those macros come in. And you can click on the question mark and see them, but you can't copy paste them from there. Most of these reports do have a unique their employee's ID, so I would not exclude that because that would make nothing appear on your report. So don't check that box. Delivery method, we don't use FTP, so don't ever check that section. You're going to want to make sure you check the second option. And you can choose on when you want this to schedule, and you want it available until, remember, you're probably going to want these reports to expire at some time. And do you want to include entries that are marked inactive? So once again, what do you want to include? But for site options, we recommend that associate evaluation plan to the location of the owner when the plan started, because this is site owns that plan. So you're going to want to make sure you choose this second option. And once you narrow down this list, you'll click finalize. And we'll actually go to the live site, but we just wanted to make sure you had access to these steps for later. And you will get an email again once this has been completed to let you know that this has been done. But remember that once you run this, it will not run till overnight, and you will see it the next day. So and once you are in the site, once again, you're on system administration, export that to PDF. You're going to schedule a new report. Once you do, you're going to see you have your queue. After you have run some, you'll see that they're going to appear down here. You'll have their name. And then you'll see that you have some more options. You can view, copy, cancel. Then you also have some reports that have already run down here at the bottom that are not queued to run, but they've already run. And from that drop down, you can do view, copy, details, or you can delete that report. And then if you have multiple pages, they will appear down here as well. So once again, you're going to click on schedule a new report. And there's information for a full export when you are in it, and we're going to look at that in just a second. So once you're in your plans, remember you can filter information. So if you ever see filter, you always can add those filters to select your columns. And then when you are looking at this, remember full export. So this is what these different plans are going to be. All activities of that plan are going to be included. Remember, everything will be included. Partial, you're going to see the activity you get to select. So you get to choose what's included. A template, if you actually want to see that record of activities with those times and things that happen, that template's going to appear. And then advanced is going to include the 2 PDFs per person. It's going to include the template of the template export record of activities, and then it's going to include all activities for that plan. So it's like combining two together. And so pick and choose what you need for your information. I'm not going to do the full export right now. I'm just going to look at that partial so you can look at picking and choosing, but you'll see that there is information here. So if you want to go back, once you learn how to do one, it's going to be very similar. So you'll see full export. Remember, you get to choose your users and you get to narrow this down. So if you want specific users, district, you pick what makes sense. So you do have that option for your full report. And then once you get in here, once again, you can add users or you can remove users. Once you add the user, it does turn yellow. You would have to click it again to remove them. Or you can include your district. So if you want to just go ahead and choose that specific district or site, you can include that in your report. And if you do have larger schools, you might want to do not the whole district, but maybe a school at a time. So it'll help with that file when it does come in. Once again, you can choose the specific sites. And once again, it does tell you here what all of these are in this slide. And then you're going to who wants to be notified when you get that report. You can type in their name. And once you type in their name will appear. You just have to give it a few minutes to appear if you want information. So if I do a report, I do want to get a notification when that report does come in. So that is for your full report. And then just some information you're going to see. So remember, don't ever select that FTP. We don't have that. Always choose that second option. If you want to make sure you're naming your report, remember you're going to need those macros, which is like the $ with like last name underscore first name, and then that $ to separate those with those commas. Remember, choose that scheduled start date. You want it available until. You're not going to want it hanging out there forever. So choose some information when it does need to go away. And then we do recommend choosing the second bullet. So associate evaluation plan to the location. So this is don't select, this is must select, and this is I recommend. You can choose something else, but we don't. So those options for completing those remaining details, remember you have that over there. If it has an asterisk, it is required and you have to choose something. If it doesn't have an asterisk, you don't have to choose anything. You can leave this blank. When you are finished and you're ready to run that, you will click finalize. So the information here for full report, but these are examples of your macros, so you can click and highlight those. So if you know you're going to want to name each individual report, excuse me, didn't mean to skip that page. You can copy this. So if you want it to be last name, first name, and their employee ID, remember it's going to be a PDF or a page for every single plan that comes in. So you're probably going to want to know how that's separated. So remember, like first name, last name, employee ID, program name, you can choose what you want this to look like. So it's going to be helpful. When you are just some additional options, just so you know what they mean. Remember that export name, and I showed you this on the previous screen or couple screens ago. So making sure you have those macros so you can copy paste that. That delivery method, you know, how it's going to be delivered. Do not select that FTP. Remember, select that export tool and choosing your dates, and making sure you decide if you want inactive staff and do you want any files attached. So, you know, educators have the option to upload artifacts, and if you include those file attachments, they're going to come in. That's going to make that document very large, but be aware if you want to include those, you can include any of those file attachments, and you can choose if you only want completed plans. You can export only shared observations, and then your site options. So you do have options to choose that. So it is options when you are in there.
Yep. So I'm going to pipe in with those artifacts and attachments. It will make a separate PDF for every attachment that teacher put in there. So if you have a teacher that puts 20 artifact attachments in there, you're going to get all those 20 artifacts plus the couple of PDFs for the report you're running. So just keep that in mind if you really, really need to have those attachments included.
Yes, so that's going to be a lot. So this document, that's one of the reasons this does take overnight, and you really do need to plan ahead, because remember, when you do schedule this, it's going to go in with everyone else in the state who schedules these to run. So plan ahead so you're not, so you make sure you have your information. And they do, once again, I've said this again, they do export overnight. So they
actually run a lot faster than they used to. So go ahead and try these out. You can try them out now. And when Donna gets through showing you how to get it all set up, go ahead and try them out.
Yeah. So, but do plan ahead, especially at the end of the year. So remember that nightly job. So that is there. So we're actually going to go through a partial export, because we're going to pick and choose some information that we might want to see. There is information here as before. So in your help guides from the NCEES tab, you'll see that you do have how to export a plan to PDF. So we do have that help guide there as well. So, and with creating those end of year reports, we are asking you this year, as you're doing this, to go ahead and run your reports prior to June 27th. That is the end of the year this year is on a Sunday. So we don't not necessarily want to be running these reports on the weekend. So if you can go ahead and get all of your reports run on that Thursday, then we can download all of our state reports on that Friday. So make sure you are running those reports, because we do want that historical data to be correct and you have access to that information. So we are going to go ahead, and I'm going to go to System Administration. I'm going to go to Export a Plan to PDF. I am going to schedule a new report. You'll see that I have some here in queue. Any completed reports that I might have had, I'm impersonating someone, so there's no reports already finished, but they would have appeared down here, and I would be able to click on the drop down, and I would be able to view, delete. There's, I think delete's the other option, but I could do that. But there's nothing to see here because it is in queue. It will not run until tonight, but I can schedule a new report. And so this is where you have your options. Remember, so I can go in. You're going to see you have lots of options here. I'm just going to come in here and choose 2023, 2024. I'm going to search that. I'm going to look for maybe this abbreviated plan. I'm going to choose next. And this is where if you want to choose full report, you're pretty much done. You click full report, and then you can move on, and it's going, you know, you don't have to pick and choose. But I'm going to choose partial report. I'm going to click next, and this is where it's going to give me the options to come through and pick and choose what I want to see or what I want to download. So do I want to include all of this information? Be aware when you see the word form, that is just going to be what it looks like on the screen. So if you want to make sure you include signatures and that information, you're looking for the word sign off. So you're going to look for the word sign off. Form's not going to give you that. So you can deselect, select what you want. I'm going to deselect and say maybe I want to make sure that I have training and orientation. Let's see here. And then maybe I want these sign off teacher sign off, the evaluator sign off. So you can pick and choose what you want to have in here. Maybe I want to make sure that was locked, because if it's locked, I know that it was finished. So you can, once again, looking for sign off is signatures. Form is just going to show you what's on that tab, and it might help with location and things of that nature, but you can come in here and you can pick and choose what you want to see for this information. So you can choose it all if you want to. Just be aware that all of this is going to come in, going to have the more information you choose, the larger this is going to be. But if you're happy.
So for their end of year report, I would uncheck everything and scroll down to summary evaluation area. I think you went by it.
I did.
And check what you need there, the evaluation form, probably those acknowledgments. You probably want those. If you had anybody that did an override, you consider including that. And then just decide if you want anything else that's in that summary, any written responses to include in your PDF. Anything that you want to keep to help you plan with next year's plans. That's what running this summary evaluation individual PDFs will help you next year. Just run them before the end of this year after all your plans are done. So this is where you get your summary evaluation. If you want to try this report out now, it's not going to run anything for you. So you may want to go test it just using the first observation and seeing how it does return the data in the PDFs. But for the end of the year, you want to scroll down here to the summary evaluation section. And then you can run from there, Donna.
Okay, thank you, Cammie. So once you've chosen the information you want to see, then you can click next. And then this is where you can decide who you are going to run this information on. If you know you want to do a specific site, you can choose it. If you know you need this for a specific user, you can do this as well. And I was going to say mine gets very, very slow at this point, but this is where you can choose the person. They do turn yellow when you choose them. So if you're just looking for specific people, you could do that. Cammie, remind me, if they have like a group of beginning teachers, can they choose that? I couldn't remember. I'm not certain. Okay, I'll ask her again in a minute.
Sorry, I was talking on mute. So no, they don't have a way to choose a group from out here. You have to go to specific users and then do what Donna's doing, pick all your beginning teachers if you're running a report for beginning teachers. And that's explained in the other guide that we have out there as well.
Okay, thank you, Cammie. I couldn't remember if you could choose. I know we can create groups. I couldn't remember if you could download a group here. But you can choose specific users. You can choose all your users. So once again, think of what you need, and the more you choose, the larger that this download is going to be. When you've chosen your people, once again, sites or however you want to do this, or exclude sites, you click next. And you can find users. So this is who is going to get this notification. So if you start typing and give it just a minute, if they are in NCEES, their name will appear. So eventually it does appear. You click on their name. And then you can choose additional people if you would like.
Yeah. So if you have like a superintendent that wants to know when this report is done or run, you can, or somebody that's not in NCEES that needs to be notified when you run these PDFs. They won't get the actual report. You have to be the one to come back in and pull and download the report. But if somebody needs to be notified and they're not in NCEES, put their email in that bottom box. And if it's more than one, separate them with a comma.
So, and then that will let them know to come ask you for the reports. So we're going to click next. And this is where you're going to have to choose the name. So maybe I just want this to be, maybe the person I chose was a beginning teacher. So I'm just going to call this audit report. I'm just going to call it number 10 so I can see it. This is where those macros are going to come in. Like I said, you can click on this, but you can't copy from here. So if you wanted to come back to this presentation, I know they're on this slide, you could copy paste a line if you wanted to do that. And then when you come back over here, you can include, and if you wanted to separate like by spaces, you could put a dash in there, or you can rename once the file well, I wouldn't rename all of those, but this is how your report's going to come in.
Yeah, you can put that little dollar sign with just the parentheses, and that should put a space and then a comma. That should put a space in there. Just, yeah, try that out. Yeah, and see if it'll put the spaces in for you.
Okay. And I didn't put a space there. Okay, so you might want to go ahead and copy paste that information ahead of time, because once, like I said, once you click on this, you can't. We would not choose this, especially if you have it pulling their UID in the report. So we would not choose that one. Remember,
yeah, I'm sorry, Don. I'm going to interrupt you one more time about employee ID, because I don't think I mentioned this, just came through my head. There is nowhere in these reports where it puts that employee ID. So if you want that on these PDFs, it has to be in your file name. So that's why we use employee ID in that box that Donna just populated. And then make sure you don't check the next box, because it will exclude any report that has the employee ID on it.
thank you, Cammie. Remember, we don't ever choose this first one because we don't use FTP. So make sure you choose the second one. You're going to choose your start date. Maybe I want this to run today, and I want this available. You choose however long you want this available till, and you can decide, do you want to include entries marked inactive? Do you want to include those file attachments? Remember, that's every artifact that's going to come in as an attachment. Do you only want to export completed plans? And this is just, and always checking the second box down here to make sure the associated evaluation plan is to the location of the owner where the plan started. And so when you've chosen how you would like this to look, you do click finalize. From this screen, you do have the option to make any changes that you would like. So you can come in here, and if you see something you need to make a change, you can do that. And then when you are happy with your responses, whoever's going to get this, maybe you forgot to add someone, maybe you forgot to choose an activity, but when this looks like you want it to, then you can schedule your export. And it's going to appear up here in this queue. And then after it processes overnight, will appear down here in this list. And then you can open it up. It will come in as a zip file. So you will have to probably download that and then maybe open that zip file up, but it will appear as a zip file. Sorry, I don't have that to share with you to show you what that looks like. But are there any questions about that?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and just reminding you again of those options once you were in there. Oh, so partial export was what I just showed, and reminding you to run those plans. So there's just, sorry, I need to delete one thing on there. So the other thing that we want to talk about is that template export. So, you have that record of activities that is at the bottom of your PDP. You do have the option to run that as well when you are in. So that is another option that you can run, and that's just going to show you what happened, what date those activities did happen. So I just want to show you where to find that. It's not wanting to let me click. So schedule, once again, system administration, and then export plan to PDF, schedule a new plan, and then I'm going to go to, got to find PDP. Next. And then you have that, and I didn't pay attention to what year, but you have that template export that you can choose. And then you can choose what you want at this point in time. If you want to run it now, you're probably close to that mid-year plan. You can choose that. And then once again, you can go through and choose your users and sites and all of that information we just went through. So I'm not going to show you that again, but just making you aware that that is another report that you can download, and it will make a PDF for every plan.
Yeah.
And so
for those of you that are doing the BT audits, that is a perfect report to go run, and then pick your teachers from there when you go pick the individuals. Because you're probably going and pulling up teachers individually, opening their PDP, going to record of activities, and then printing the template report. This is a way to mass run those. So I hope that would save you some time.
Yes, and so I did highlight that here because it does say you can use for that for your beginning teacher records. And these steps here, once again, showing you the information about that template export. And it's the same information I've shown you on the other slides. The advanced export, remember, that's a combination of those two. So if you want to go in there and run that advanced one, I'm not as familiar with that one. I don't think Cammie is as familiar with that one. I think
Yeah,
when
it's just going to run both. So like if you could run the full export and those templates go with it. So it's just going to give you all the information.
So yeah, so we did, there are slides to show you all of these steps. I'm not going to go through all, because once you go through it once, it's the same steps over and over again, just reminding you how to do that and what they're going to look like once they do come out. Remember, once you first do this, they will appear in the queue, and then after they're ready, you'll be able to click down here and you can view those. And once again, they will be in that zip file.
Yep. Can you go back one slide? So where it says export name, and it's kind of small on the screen, but you can click on there to see the report, but it also shows how many PDFs completed and how many failed. And if you want information, if you do have any failed, we've fixed a lot of the issues over the last 4 years, so I rarely see anything fail. But you can click that little eye icon that's in the black circle, and it will give you a list and show you what failed, and it'll give you a reason. So then you can open a ticket to DPI and say, hey, we need this checked out. Why is this failing? And maybe we can resolve that at our level, or we can shoot it up to PowerSchool in case there's another issue going on.
Yeah, and it is kind of small, but it is right there. You'll see completed 204 and failed 0. So it is kind of small there, but it is right there. Okay, and once again, in that export queue, that's just at the top, and it'll just show you that you do have options to view that. You could copy that if you wanted to, and then if you wanted to copy and then make changes, you realize you left something, you didn't want to start from scratch, you could copy, make changes. Maybe you realize you needed to rename it, include something else in the file name, you could do that as well. And then those completed reports, once again, they are at the bottom, and so you can see those. Remember, they will run over. Just to click some of those that we've said, just to see what they look like, you can do that. Here's an example of what it'll look like when it's finished. It will show you that it is that zip file. So when you click on that, it will download that to your device. And you will get email notifications once these do come in. So if you play around with this today, then you're going to get some email notifications that do come in tomorrow. Tomorrow morning probably. So you'll see those and you can either click email to go to that. And let's see, so making sure you save that zip file if you need to, and depending on the device you're on, depends on how you open your zip file. And those completed plans, once again, just kind of showing you again, the error messages could appear here as well. So when you're looking at that completed plan, once you view those details, unfortunately, I don't have that option to show you. And then, are there any questions about export, save to PDF? I'll keep going. So we do have the list of the reports here and a quick description. You can also find that on the Ad-Hoc reporting page, but there's a description here if you just want to look at the options you do have for creating those reports and narrowing those reports down. So we do have the descriptions for all of these. We are asking that you do have your plans ready and your reports run prior to June 27th. And these are some reports that would probably be very beneficial that you would want to run. There's a quick report that you can run with ratings, and then these additional reports that we've talked about today, so that you would probably want to run before the end of the school year. So keep that in mind. Maybe put it on your calendar so you don't forget to run those.
Yeah, if for any reason your export to PDF plans you don't get to run until like June 27th, and maybe there's 4 or 5 other districts in the queue ahead of you, PowerSchool has assured us, and I've seen it happen, they will keep running overnight. It runs between like a 3-hour window after midnight. It will pause and then restart back the next night until all those reports are done. Rest assured, if you are late starting that report for export to PDF, they will run. I just wanted to assure you of that.
Thank you, Cammie. So that wraps up the presentation. If you would like to give us feedback, we would love feedback. You will need to know your region. So I'm going to pause on this for just a minute, because in order to do the feedback form, or if you would like to receive CEU credit for attending today, you do need to know your district. So I'm going to pause here for just a second so you can find your district. And hopefully everybody has seen it. And then you can, if you have your phone, you can scan that QR code with your phone, or you can click right here on this link. And actually, this is going to be should be 1.5. It was 1.5 hours, so it is correct on the feedback form, but sorry, it's not correct there. But you will get 1.5 hours. Excuse me, 0.15 CEUs for attending. So remember, you do turn in the certificate, and it's however your district does handle CEUs. They are authoritative on what they do give credit for. But you will get, once you fill out the feedback form, the last 2 questions do ask you, do you want a certificate? You'll type in your name and your email, and immediately, within just a matter of a couple minutes, you will have the certificate that does come to your email. So that will be there. And then, if you have not looked at our resources, we do have access to our resource site. So this is going to be about your policy information. So you can click on teacher, principals, support staff, any of these roles, and you're going to have information about resources for them for policies. This link will get you here. If you are not part of our NCEES Admin Resource Hub, this is very helpful for you. I would recommend joining this. If when you first go click on this link, if that does not work, that means that you have not logged into Canvas before. So you would just go to Canvas and then scroll all the way to the bottom on the left and click on Home-Based Resources, and then click on NCEES. There's modules for beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year, professional development, troubleshooting. So that is in our blue Canvas, and it's just information resources. While it's in a Canvas course, it's just how we share resources with you. So if you're not a part of that, we do recommend you joining that. And this webinar and all of our previous webinars are on our YouTube playlist. So this one will be uploaded next week. I will work on getting that uploaded to our YouTube channel. So you will see all of our previous webinars there as well. You can click this link to go ahead and see all the previous ones that are already there. We do have, this is our last webinar this year for 2023. We will start again in January. We do have 4 more webinars that are coming up this year. If you would like to sign up for those, you can click on the words in blue, and that will take you to the link to sign up for those. We would love to have you come back. So that option is there. And if you would like to see any of our previous webinars, all of the presentations and videos are linked here as well. So NCEES upcoming webinars, you can see that, or you can click individual ones here. And thank you so much for joining us today. If you have questions about using the system, you're free to reach out to me. If you have questions about policy, Jennifer Bass, and Cammie is continuing to support as we make this transition. So she is always here. If I don't know the answer, I know who I can reach out to about the system to help. So thank you for joining me today, for joining all of us today. I hope you all have a very good Thanksgiving.